March along, sing a song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. And the army goes rolling along, along.
Well, wasn't that great? Getting no army hit itself, I like that. Well, good morning to each of you, and welcome. Certainly glad to have you with us this morning, celebrating our Veterans Day. And you're certainly welcome to come back anytime if you're a visitor. We appreciate having all the visitors here with us this morning. Just briefly, we have, this will be in your bulletin, by the way. Just I'll briefly give the announcements. Coffee house tonight in our fellowship hall. Our church band will be leading it, and so you're welcome to come to that, everyone. Our church-wide Thanksgiving meal will be Wednesday, November the 15th at 5:15 p.m. Turkey dressing and fixings. You need to make reservations for that. Also, calling all the youth to join in the fun night at Uncle's Shucks. That's on Saturday, November the 18th. You're going to leave the church at 5:30 p.m. and the cost is $20. Okay, so please bring your $20. That is for the corn maze and dinner. Thank goodness we've got more children coming, so attending our preschool department, and we need volunteers for that. So please contact Haley Cagle. Her phone number is in the bulletin there. If we need those volunteers, so please contact her if you can help. Also next Sunday, our Association Missionary, JoJo Thomas, will be speaking. He has served in that position since 2005. So be here for that. Youth Christmas Program, November the 19th at 6 p.m. Also, our last thing on the item is we need more volunteers also to greet the people coming in for Sunday school, and also to greet those for coming in for church time. The church office phone number is also in the bulletin. If you can help with that, please give them a call. For our prayer of invocation, we do have a little birthday girl out here. Marcia Jones, where are you here? Marcia. Oh, there you are. I couldn't find you. You're usually about there somewhere, right down here. And we honor you. We thank you. Please stand, Marcia, if you would. She does so much wonderful work for us. Let's give her a hand. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Marcia. Happy birthday to you.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, what an honor it is to be in your house this morning, to study and to worship your name. Father, we're just so thankful for our veterans, men and women who volunteered to serve their country, some to be in harm's way, but Lord, just volunteered to give their all for their country. Father, we just pray, we just thank you for our great leaders of this country who had the foresight to bring forth volunteers to defend this country. Father, we have some veterans that came home from harm's way and were injured. And Lord, we just pray that you would be with them, and we just thank you for the sacrifice they made to defend this land. We thank you for their families who had to go through hardships of their loved one being away. And we just thank you and pray that you would give them comfort and peace. We thank you for the ones that made the ultimate sacrifice and gave their lives so that we might have the freedom that we have. Lord, if freedom is not free, you even gave your own Son to die on the cruel cross for our sins so that we might be free. And Lord, we just love you and we praise you, and you taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
We are so glad to have so many visiting with us. Particularly, you already heard from John Broman and the UNG Patriot Choir. They're going to do some wonderful singing for us later on, so we're so happy they're here. But there are many other visitors out here. Let's stand and take a moment to greet each other, and then we'll sing.
Please stand for the presentation of colors.
Left turn, march. Right, hold. Up. Guys.
Please join me in our pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, army. Right turn, march. Forward, march. Go.
You just follow me in your bulletins. O Almighty God, who art a strong tower of defense unto thy servants against the face of their enemies.
You be praise and thanksgiving for our deliverance from those great and apparent dangers wherewith you overcome us.
We acknowledge thy goodness that we were not delivered over as prey unto them.
Beseeching thee still to continue such thy mercies toward us, that all the world may know that thou art our Savior and mighty deliverer, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Well, as you noticed, I don't know, that's okay. This morning, again, we want to recognize all the veterans in the house, whether you're a veteran or a family member of a veteran. When your name called out, we would invite you to come forward and receive a pin on your behalf as a veteran, on behalf of your family member who is a veteran. We will do this in three categories. The first one will be those who are currently serving, and your individual army will read those names off. Then we will do the ones who are veterans, any veteran in the house, or John McClellan, Navy. And the last group is the group of soldiers. Who ultimately gave everything in service to the country. Those names will be read by Ralph Bradley of the Army.
These are the names of those that are currently serving. Staff Sergeant Stephen Blake, Specialist Benjamin Brooks, Staff Sergeant John Brooks, Tech Sergeant James Hurt, Captain John Kishimoto.
Those that have served. Revolutionary War Patriots. Private Nathan Arundel, Franklin County, Georgia. Sergeant Samuel Kelso also served as a lieutenant and a horseman at the battles of Kings Mountain and Cowpens, 1779, 1782. And war veterans. Seaman Second Class Ralph J. Adams, Georgia National Guard, Private in the United States Navy. Private First Class Billy K. Addison, Germany, United States Marine Corps. Dorothy Amato, Women's Army Corps, World War II, Secretary to General Douglas MacArthur, United States Army. Sergeant William Gary Bagwell, 430th Military Intelligence Detachment, Munich, West Germany, United States Army. Private First Class J. W. Bagwell, 88th Infantry Division, European Theater, Italy, United States Army. Carl M. Baker, Iwo Jima, United States Marine. Corporal Anthony Barfield, Iraq, United States Marines. Commander Brian Bartlett, Operations Officer, Aircraft Carrier George Washington, CVN 73, Norfolk, Virginia, United States Navy. Second Class Petty Officer Roy Bartlett, USS Preston, South Pacific, United States Navy. Seaman First Class J.F. Blackwell, World War II, South Pacific, United States Navy. Sergeant Stephen Blake, Germany, United States Air Force. Specialist Fourth, David Bolton, Korea, United States Army. Corporal James Douglas Brandon, 7th Division, 17th Regiment, 2nd Battalion, South Korea, United States Army. Private Benjamin Brooks, United States Army Reserves. Master Sergeant John Brooks, California, United States Marine Corps. Major Michael J. Brooks, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Thomas L. Burrell, Da Nang, Vietnam, United States Air Force. First Lieutenant Johnny Burkett, Vietnam, United States Army. Specialist Chase Butler, Fort Hood, Texas, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Dennis Cagle, Korea, United States Army. Tech 5 Garnet C. Cagle, Philippines, United States Army. Captain Leo Carver, World War II, Europe, United States Air Force. Tech Sergeant Dave Causey, 3225th Air Squadron, Air Force Proving Grounds, United States Air Force. Signalman Third Class James H. Causey, USS Destroyer Kidd, Sea of Japan, South Vietnam, United States Navy. Corporal Billy Chambers, World War II, Germany, United States Army. Private Higgins Coppinger, Virginia American Revolution, United States Army. Seaman First Class Caleb Couch, Great Lakes, Illinois, United States Navy. Corporal Cecil Davison, France, United States Army. Master Sergeant Denver Day, 4th Signal Battalion, Seoul, South Korea, United States Army. Dallas Dixon, Mounted Cavalry, Civil War, Union Army, United States Army. Hope Dixon, Mounted Cavalry, Civil War, Confederate Army, buried in Marietta Military Cemetery, United States Army. Private William H. Dolph, Signal Corps, Korea, United States Army. Gunner's Mate 3rd Class, Julian Dove, Pacific Theater, United States Navy. Airman 1st Class, Bobby S. Dunnigan, Iceland and Wyoming, United States Air Force. Private 1st Class, Clarence Jerry Dyer, Fort Wainwright, Fairbanks, Alaska, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Diana Edmonds, Peace Air Force Base, England and New Hampshire, United States Air Force. Excuse me. Master Sergeant James J. Edmonds, South Vietnam. Here's my voice here. Newfoundland and Germany, United States Air Force. Private Walter C. Edmonds, World War II, United States Army. Private William A. Edmonds, World War I, Germany, United States Army. Joe Faust, Alabama National Guard. E4 Ted Fender, VSS Husher, 1958 to 1962, United States Navy. Mark Allen Foster, E5 WillerTech, USS Pensacola, United States Navy. Captain Kerry Gaddy, Virginia and England, United States Air Force Reserve. Lieutenant Homer Franklin Glenn, Jr., 8th Bombardier, World War II, United States Air Force. 3rd Class Petty Officer Bobby Hall, Naval Air Station Atlanta, United States Navy. Corporal Jesse Lee Haney, Korean War, United States Army. Colonel Brenda Jean Sailor Saviska, Air Force Nursing Corps, South Vietnam, United States Air Force. Private 1st Class Robert Allen Holman, World War II, Korea, United States Army. Electrician's Mate 2nd Class Thomas Carroll Holmes Jr., United States Navy. Captain L.G. Humphrey, South Pacific, World War II. Private 1st Class Billy R. Humphreys, Vietnam, United States Army. Captain Jennifer Humphrey, San Antonio, Texas, United States Army. Corporal James Hurt, Travis Air Force Base, California, United States Air Force. Sergeant Don Javoner, Army Garrison Support Unit, United States Army. Sergeant John Jones, 3rd Vietnam War, United States Army. Thank you. Miller B. Kelly, Military Police, Germany, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Steve L. Kennedy, Vietnam, Army Special Forces, 173rd Airborne, United States Army. Pilot Charles Kirkpatrick. First Sergeant David Kirkpatrick, World War II, United States Army. Pilot Charles Kirkpatrick, United States Air Force. Corporal Paul Kirkpatrick, World War II, Italy, United States Army. Captain Rex Kirkpatrick, United States Army. Corporal Sid Kirkpatrick, Motor Company, Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, United States Reserve Army. E4, BU3, Henry Walker Knowles, Okinawa and Guam, United States Navy. E5, Staff Sergeant Hunter Nuck, Luke Air Force Base, Arizona, United States Air Force. Sergeant Major Lee Longwood, United States Army. Specialist Charles McDougall, Germany, United States Army. Sergeant Fred McDougall, World War II, United States Army. Sergeant Glenn McDougall, 1st Air Cavalry Division, South Vietnam, United States Army. Specialist E4, Craig McKenzie, 1st Cavalry Division, Iraq, United States Army. Sergeant Felton McKenzie, Army Air Corps, Air Transport Command, Bermuda, United States Army. First Lieutenant Michael McKenzie, 160th Signal Group, South Vietnam, United States Army. Staff Sergeant John F. McClellan, South Pacific, World War II,
United States Army. Aviation Machinist Mate First Class, John P. McClellan, Naval Air Station Atlanta, United States Navy. Specialist Fourth Class, John R. McClellan, 413th Signal Company, 947th Air Defense Brigade, Kaiserslautern, Germany. Quartermaster, Second Class, Ronald H. McClellan, USS Ranger, Arabian Sea, United States Navy. Captain Robert Franklin McWhorter, Sr., Anchorage, Alaska, and Biloxi, Mississippi, United States Air Force. Airman First Class, Bobby Merck, Charleston Air Force Base and Tokyo, Japan, United States Air Force. Captain Stanley Miller, helicopter pilot, South Vietnam, United States Army. Jimmy Millwood, United States Army. Sergeant W. Horace Mundy, World War II European Theater, Frankfurt, Germany, United States Army. Motor Machinist Second Class, W.N. Oliver, European Theater, participated in the D-Day invasion, United States Army. Corporal Jeb Stewart Orr, A Company, 1st Battalion, 15th Infantry Division, Fort Benning, Georgia, United States Army. Air Force First Class, John F. Orr, Langley, Virginia, United States Air Force. First Sergeant William Keith Orr, South Vietnam, United States Army. Private George Peck, 8th Air Force, Occupational Forces of Japan, United States Army Air Corps. Private Donald Herbert Bethel, United States Army. Private Richard Anthony Bethel, Korea, United States Army. Staff Sergeant John David Probst, Han Air Force Base, Ramstein Air Force Base, Missile Security Squadron, West Germany, United States Air Force. Corporal Louis Probst, 278th Regimental Combat Team, Kesselvik, Iceland, United States Army. Specialist Fourth Class Ralph Ratliff, Korea, Okinawa, United States Army. Seaman First Class Henry Robinson, Jacksonville, Florida, United States Navy. Specialist Fourth Class George J. Brashaw, Fort Benning, United States Army. Colonel Jerry L. Sailors, pilot, South Vietnam, United States Air Force. Saw Gunner Specialist Dustin Scott, Fort Carson, Colorado, United States Army. E5 Sergeant Forrest Scott, Vietnam, United States Army. Tech Sergeant Jerry L. Sexton, France and Thailand, United States Air Force. Robert W. Schufelt, Military Police, World War II, Frankfurt, West Germany. First Lieutenant Joel Silver, United States Army. Sergeant John Silver, Vietnam, United States Army. Sergeant Fred Simpson Sr., Battle of the Bulge, World War II, United States Army. Chief Master Sergeant Joe Logan Smith, United States Air Force. Seaman James H. Smith, USS Destroyer Dixie, Guam, and Korea, United States Navy. Specialist 4E, William Charles Smith, Fort Lewis, Washington, 243rd Aviation, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Charles Edward Stevens, Incheon Invasion, Incheon, South Korea, United States Army. Pat Stevens, Germany, United States Army. Private Theodore E. Tench, Greenville, South Carolina, United States Air Force. Water Tender Second Class, Klein Veal, Normandy and Philippines, World War II, United States Navy. Airman First Class Donald S. Wallace, United States Air Force. Chief Master Sergeant Douglas C. Wallace, United States Air Force. Private First Class Fred W. Wallace, United States Army. Airman First Class Kenneth B. Wallace, United States Air Force. First Sergeant William F. Buddy Wallace, Gangyu Valley, South Korea, United States Army. Non-commissioned Officer Adam Watkins, Army Ranger, 82nd Airborne Division, Jump Master, Afghanistan, holder of a Meritorious Service Medal, United States Army.
Corporal Lamar Watson, Quantico, Virginia, United States Marines. Private First Class Billy Westmoreland, Korea, United States Army. Second Class Petty Officer Leroy Whiting, VF 102 Fighter Squadron, USS Tarara, South Pacific Ocean, United States Navy. Petty Officer David Young, Pacific Theater, United States Navy. We are honored today with the presence of a World War II veteran, in the presence of Mr. Vaughn Woodring, 92 years old. He was a second-class petty officer in the United States Navy in World War II in Okinawa and served in Korea as well. It is a genuine pleasure to see you, sir, and it is Thank you. Following list of veterans, Faith Darrell. Master Engineer Fred Allen. Edward Combs. Corporal Jackie McKenzie. Private Willie Peyton Richard Norfolk. Private Howard Warren. Master Sergeant J. P. Williams. Would you join me in prayer, please? Oh God, give us the unashamed courage to believe in your highest ideals for our country. Just as men and women from our community fought and died to preserve our freedom, give us passionate patience to keep their dreams alive. Please, God, bless our nation and the other governments standing with us during this time of war and evil. Amen. Please stand.
March along, sing a song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation. the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong, for wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. And the army goes rolling along, along.
Boy, wasn't that great? Getting an old army vet myself, I like that. Well, good morning to each of you, and welcome. Certainly glad to have you with us this morning, celebrating our Veterans Day. And you're certainly welcome to come back anytime if you're a visitor. We appreciate having all the visitors here with us this morning. Just briefly, this will be in your bulletin, by the way. Just I'll briefly give the announcements. Coffee house tonight in our fellowship hall. Our church band will be leading it.
To fallen soldiers let us sing, where no rockets fly nor bullets swing. Our broken brothers let us bring to the mansions of the Lord. No more bleeding, no more fight, no prayers leading through the night. Just divine embrace, eternal light in the mansions of the Lord, where no mothers cry and no children weep. We will stand and guard though the angels sleep. All through the ages safely keep the mansions of the Lord. All through the ages safely keep the mansions of the Lord.
Amen. That was beautiful. It's our pleasure to welcome one of our own today as our guest speaker. Major Mike Brooks will be bringing the message today. Almost everybody knows Mike and Sue. Mike's a very humble man, so you probably don't know all of his background. I said, Mike, supply me with some information about your training and gift. Listen to whom the Lord is bringing to our pulpit today in the way of his life training and military training. Graduated Officer Training School in 1981, undergraduate navigator training in 1982, as well as advanced navigation and winter and POW survival training in the year of 1982. Navigator bombardier training in 1982 and 1983, and B-52 bomber training also in 1983. B-52 navigator, instructor navigator, radar navigator, instructor evaluator, radar navigator at Mather Air Force Base in California, and pulled nuclear alert for 7 days every third week through the Cold War. He had B-52 instructor radar navigator training at Castle Air Force Base in California, teaching students new to the B-52. He was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, staff jobs, and 2 years in contract management, 2 years in strategic intelligence. At Fort Stewart, Georgia, he says he spent the last 8 years of his career as an as an air liaison officer to the Army. He went where the Army went on the ground to help them get combat aircraft, fighters, and bombers on the battlefield where they needed them, and it was that assignment that carried him to the garden spots, as he says, of Kuwait, Bosnia, Afghanistan, and Iraq. He retired in the year of 2005. Would you welcome with me Major Mike Brooks to our pulpit today? Mike.
Guys, that was pretty awesome. I just got to tell you. Years ago when I was deployed to Bosnia, I guess the Army was really desperate because they put me in charge of the cattle choir, so I couldn't listen to someone over there. Thank you for allowing me this privilege. I don't know how you cram 30-minute talk into 5 minutes, but I'm going to try. Don't. Yesterday was Veterans Day. Man, I hope I don't fall off the stage. That's just going to be really embarrassing. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and we come this morning, obviously, to commemorate, to celebrate, to honor our military veterans. You know, I wish we had a Heroes Day. I wish we had a Heroes Day to celebrate the lives of everyday heroes, police officers, fire departments, EMTs, teachers. There are a lot of heroes out there, and you know what? You heroes need your own day. But this weekend, we commemorate the lives and service of military veterans. So that's where we are now. Those are the people I'd like to talk about. I'd like to tell you about some of my family who are heroes in my own mind. My daughter's a paramedic. I could tell you, I could stand here all day and tell you stories of how she's made me proud, saving lives. That's pretty cool. But we don't have time for that, and that's not really what we're here for. But I want to start with the example of Pat Tillman. Y'all remember Pat Tillman? He's a football player. He went to Arizona State University, and he played linebacker for the football team there. Now, he wasn't real big, but what he made up for, what he lacked in size, he made up for in go-getterness. I just made a word. You know what I mean? He went after it. And here's the kicker. He graduated with a 3.85 GPA. Who's got that? Okay. No, really, that's pretty high. He's a pretty smart guy. Graduated with a 3.85, and then he went on to play football for the Arizona Cardinals. And he played all-pro safety. He was a really good safety for the Cardinals. Then 9/11 happened. And as soon as 9/11 happened, here's what Pat Tillman did. He turned down a $3.6 million contract for 3 years to play for the Cardinals, to enlist in the Army. When you enlist in the Army, you're making just above poverty wage. That's a fact. So this wasn't about money. He went in the Army. They sent him to Ranger School. He became an Army Ranger, which in the Army is one of the higher speed soldiers, right? Am I right? Yeah. If you're an Army Ranger, you're pretty cool. And you're out there on the front lines doing the work. Well, sadly, as you probably know, Pat Tillman was killed in action. And to add salt to that wound, he was probably killed by friendly fire. It happens. Killed in action. Well, some journalists went back and interviewed some of his former teammates after that happened. Hey, what do you think about Pat? Has your life changed at all since he came and went? And here's what they said. You know, we used to think of ourselves as soldiers on the football field. We used to think of the other team as the enemy. We used to think of the football field itself as a war zone. In fact, we used to think of a game of football as war. They said, well, we don't do that anymore. Our perspective has changed. They realized that they were playing a game, albeit an important game to them. It was their livelihood. But it wasn't war. War is serious stuff. War has consequences. And it's the people who are our tools to go out and fight those wars that we honor this weekend. Now, you're going to hear me use a word that's not very politically correct, because when I think of veterans, I think of warriors. And it's not rocket science. What is a warrior? That's a person who's engaged in or experienced in warfare. Not a game, it's warfare. So I hope I don't offend you when I use that word, but that's what I'm talking about, the veterans. Now, gosh, the pastor kind of read my resume there, at least my training resume. What I'd like to do is fill in just a few of the blanks, and I hope it doesn't bore you to tears. I hope it impresses you just enough to sort of understand where I'm going with this, okay? So I was a B-52 navigator. I always wanted to fly. I couldn't pilot the airplane because you have to have 20/20 vision uncorrected, so I don't have that. So I became a navigator. And I flew in the bombers for 12 years. Then I went and did those staff jobs that Pastor talked about. Then I went to Fort Stewart and I lived with my Army buds. Man, I went through the line there. They gave me this old beat-up helmet, a couple of used canteens, a big flak vest that weighed more than me. I said, what do I do with all this stuff? They said, don't lose it. And so my job was to live with the Army on the ground with that big ugly helmet and that big ugly flak vest and those dirty old canteens and a gun. And I went where the Army went to call in airstrikes, because sometimes bad things happen when the Army's on the ground and there's nothing they can do about it. And so they want Air Force or Navy or Marine Corps fighters to come in and help them out. And that's what I did for the last 8 years. And I had fun. I had pretty cool jobs. But the thing is, it was a 24-year career. And obviously I didn't get hurt. I'm standing here today. But if you think it's easy to kiss your children goodbye and go off for months on end to places where they're shooting at you and lobbing rockets at you, you'd be wrong about that. It's a very difficult thing to do. I called home one time from Iraq, and my 6-year-old son got on the phone. All he said was, "Daddy, I want you to come home." I didn't need to hear that. "Daddy, I want you to come home." Man, hug your kids every day, because you just don't ever know. 24-year military career. What in the world motivates somebody to do a military career for 24 years? Well, I flew. That was kind of fun. But it might have something to do with family heritage, too. I was born into the Army. Go figure, yeah. Fort Lewis, Washington. My dad was in the Army. His 2 older brothers were in World War II. 1 killed in action. My brother was in the Air Force for 20 years. 2 of my sons are in the military. We'll talk about them in just a minute. 2 of my sons-in-law are sergeants in the Air Force. I guess there's something in the water or in my blood that makes us be in the military. Well, let me tell you something about military men and women. Sometimes they go into the military for what we would consider maybe the wrong reasons. Oh, to get an education, to see the world. I'm going to grow up a little bit. That's probably not a bad reason to go into the military. But to a person, when people go into the military, young as they are, naive as they are, self-centered maybe as they are, they begin to change. And they begin to understand that there's really a higher calling. And it really is about God and country and defending the Constitution of the United States. That eventually sinks in to most people in the military. But some people have a harder time grasping that than others. Now, in 2002, I deployed to Afghanistan. I was very excited about that. Not really. Because I went all by myself. It wasn't even my unit that went. It's not like I went with my buds and the people I worked with. Some other unit from South Carolina needed somebody like me. So I got on an airplane and went to Afghanistan all by my lonesome self. And they dumped me off on the airfield, and there I was for all these months in Afghanistan. And I had a pretty cool job in Afghanistan. Now, let me tell you something about Afghanistan in 2002. It was a very dangerous place. The Taliban and Al-Qaeda were very, very active, and they learned early on that the best way to kill these rascally Americans was to build these homemade bombs and put them under the dirt roads. And there are thousands of dirt roads in Afghanistan. I don't know if there's a paved street there, but there are a bunch of dirt roads. And these guys will build these bombs, these mines, if you will, and they're pretty sophisticated for homemade stuff. These things can be detonated by timers. They can be detonated by a pressure plate, so when a vehicle rolls over the bomb, it blows up. They can even be detonated by some clown behind a rock with a cell phone. And they just wait for Americans to drive by and blow them up. It has happened since that war started. We have lost a lot of young men and women to those IEDs. A lot of young men and women have been maimed because of those IEDs. I'm thankful that I didn't travel much when I was in Afghanistan. I pretty much stayed in one place. And my job, like I said, or later in my career, was to get airstrikes for people who were out there doing, I'm sorry, don't be offended by this, but we call it doing the Lord's work. Out there in Indian country. Don't be offended by that either, it's just how we talk. out there getting shot at, out there looking for bad guys. And they would sometimes get in trouble, and they would call me up and say, oh, we need airplanes. And I'd have airplanes orbiting, and I'd send them, and they'd go drop bombs and kill a bunch of bad guys, and everybody went home happy the next day. One day, there was a commander-type issue back in the rear area. Now, let me tell you something about the rear area when you're in battle. The rear area is where all the support people live. They're not really in the fight. They're way back in the back, sipping tea and waiting for somebody to call and say they need more, eggs up at the front. Well, in Afghanistan, the rear area was in Qatar. You know that little country on the Persian Gulf? It was a country away. And so there was this little commander issue that came up. So I got on a C-130 one day and hopped over to Qatar, which is where CENTCOM's deployed headquarters was. So this was a big base. Airplanes, and a big PX, the store, restaurants. It was a really cool place. Well, the issue I had to take care of was no big deal. I took care of it that morning. So now my job is to find a way home, back to Afghanistan. Isn't that sad? I lived in a tent in Afghanistan, and I just called it home. It kind of was. So I did. I found a C-130 that was leaving Doha, Qatar, going back to Afghanistan about 6 o'clock that night. So I had a couple of hours to kill. And so I went out to the big mall area there at this huge base, and to my amazement, there was this huge Olympic-sized swimming pool. Are you kidding me? This swimming pool right in the middle of the place. And tables and chairs and umbrellas and airmen and soldiers running around in t-shirts and flip-flops and shorts. And I'm thinking, what a life. Because here's the dirty little secret. They were getting the same combat pay I was getting. And they were getting the same combat credit in their record that I was getting. Are you kidding me? You're sitting at the pool, drinking a drink with an umbrella in it, and you're getting the same combat pay. That just doesn't seem right. I never said that to anybody. But I was sitting there drinking my Coke, waiting for the 6 o'clock airplane to get ready to leave. And these 3 young airmen were sitting nearby, and their backs were to me. But they were talking pretty loudly. And they were complaining. They were actually whining about being at Doha, Qatar. And so I stood up, Major Brooks, in my flight suit, and I walked around in front of them, and we had a one-way conversation. And the last thing I said to these young men is, and I was kind of kidding, but they knew that, you guys should get on this airplane with me in 2 hours and go back to the tent that I'm living in Afghanistan and get shot at. And eat in a chow hall that's in a tent. Or live out of MREs. They just got quiet after that, and I didn't stand there to listen for an answer, but honestly, they kind of made me mad, okay? I'm just confessing to you, they kind of made me mad. They're living in the rear area, and they've got a cushy life. I told you that story about the rear area because this is going to come back up in a minute, so I'd like you to remember that, okay? All right. So, see, I have all these fancy slides, and there I am getting shot at, IEDs, front lines versus the rear area. Okay, now, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of my sons. That's Benjamin on the right, that's Jonathan on the left, and Dad in the middle. And you probably don't notice, Gina, I'm standing on a step. I hate that. Now this was at Ben's wedding. Ben's my oldest son. Some of you have met him. Let's see. Let me see where okay. Ben's my oldest son. Some of you have met him. He's one of those heroes I was talking about. Every day he straps on a Statesboro, Georgia Police Department uniform and goes out and patrols the streets in Statesboro and responds to 911 calls and runs toward the danger when the rest of us are running away. So that's pretty heroic to me. My other son, Sean, he's the next oldest boy. He was going to be just like me when he grew up. He made me so proud. Dad, when I grow up, I'm gonna go to college. In fact, Dad, I'm gonna go to Ohio State. You may not know that I went to Ohio State, but I did. And John was going to go to Ohio State. He was going to make me proud. And look, his eyes are still good. He said, and I'm going to be an Air Force pilot. That just made me so proud. And the Joker graduated from high school, and a Marine Corps recruiter got a hold of him. Well, you can see the end of that story. All right, there's Jonathan, and that's me. That's a picture of Jonathan and me in 2004. This is the night before I left for Iraq. Okay? I look pretty happy there, but I was not looking forward to this. Well, like I said, John did grow up, and he's made me a very proud father, as all my children have. Today he's a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, a good-looking kid. And he's good at what he does. And in 2006, I guess it was, John had been in the Marines. That's him in his battle rattle. That's all, the helmet and all that stuff. We used to call it battle rattle, so just forgive me. It's just one of my words. But he got orders to go to Afghanistan. 19 years old. 19. Can't even drink. But he's going to go to Afghanistan. And he's going to be in Indian country. Now listen, as a military officer, I get it. I do. And I got it then. I understand, I promise you. But as a dad, there's nothing good about this. Nothing. I knew what was going on in Afghanistan. It is a very dangerous place. And our mission in Afghanistan was starting to change about that time. It was a very dangerous place. And John, there he goes. My son's going to Afghanistan. Well, one night, John and his Marines were going out on patrol. They did this every night. And they patrolled in convoys. And John was in the lead vehicle. I got a picture of it. It was a vehicle similar to that. By this time in the war, we kind of wised up with our vehicles, and we put 50 caliber machine guns on most of them, with a turret built up around it. And so on this night, John's in a vehicle like this. They're leading a convoy. He's out in front. Do you remember me mentioning those IEDs? Where do you think the most dangerous place to be in convoy is if your biggest threat is IEDs? Out front. Well, my joking son was out front. In a vehicle like that. 5 Marines. Everybody inside the vehicle and John has a specific job to do. And they're leading this convoy out looking for bad guys. I know you know where it's going. It happened. It happened. They hit an IED. The next day, I was sitting at my desk at the sheriff's office just doing what I do. My phone rang. And it was John, thankfully. Call from the hospital. And his first words were, "Dad, I'm okay. I'm okay." I said, "John, what happened?" He said, "We hit an IED." Let me tell you what happened. Their vehicle hit this IED, which was buried right under the dirt road. Jonathan, who thankfully was in the turret, manning the 50 cal that night, got blown out the top of the vehicle and landed 60 feet away. One of the Marines in a vehicle behind him said, "John, I saw you shoot out like a rocket." 60 feet away. People inside the vehicle, John's friends, his comrades, his brothers, if you will, didn't fare so well. 2 of them died immediately. One was very seriously hurt. The other had a concussion. Jonathan somehow made his way back to the vehicle. The guys behind him set up some security. Jonathan, who just went airborne, called in a medevac to get the guys out of there. That's pretty heroic, you ask me. And the good news for Dad today is John's basically okay. His back doesn't work like it used to. His hips don't work like they used to, but he paid a small price. But I'll tell you something about that Marine. He was embarrassed for 2 years to wear his Purple Heart. He was embarrassed. It's not a shame, but his friends died. He didn't really feel worthy. So let me suggest something to you. It's people like Jonathan and his friends in that vehicle that we honor today. Okay? I sat at a desk a lot in the military. There's nothing heroic about that. That's who I want to honor today. Now, let's change gears a little bit. Then we're going to come back to another Sunday. Let's talk about our battle. Because the veterans you see on the screen, the veterans you saw come up here and pick up pins, or the family members, they're not the only veterans in here. Our little group is not that elite. If you're a believer, you're in a battle. And if you're not in a battle, you should be asking yourself some questions, okay? If you're a believer, you are in a battle. It's a spiritual battlefield. Now these are going to go fly by pretty fast, so stay with me, okay? But this is what God says, do not fear. Do not be dismayed because of this great multitude of enemies. For the battle is not yours, it's God's. See, the war is already won. Y'all get that? You've been in church as long as I have. The war has already been won. Jesus won the war on the cross. But guess what? The battles rage every single day. Ask my wife about that. She'll testify to you. Some of you, the battles rage every single day, even though we know how it ends. We are among the soldiers. The war is won, but we're still soldiers in this battlefield. And they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of their testimony. And they did not love their life even when faced with death. Now that verse is talking about martyrs. But guess what? You and I might be some. You're in a battle. Yet those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not get tired. They will walk and not become weary. Who in the battle needs strength? Let me ask you something. If you're in the rear area sipping on those drinks with umbrellas, do you need strength? No. If you're in the battle, you need strength. There's the secret right there. Those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. You are in a battle. Paul, when he's handing, I keep hearing myself real loud every once in a while. Sorry about that. Paul, when he's handing the baton of his ministry to Timothy, says this to Timothy: suffer hardship with me as a good soldier of Christ. See, that word soldier is not a bad word. No soldier in active service entangles himself in the affairs of everyday life so that he may please the one who enlisted him as a soldier. You are in a battle if you're in the body of Christ. This is what he tells the Corinthians. I'm sorry, it's a long slide. But if you don't pay any attention to anything, pay attention to the bold print, because that's stuff we're supposed to do. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but divinely powerful for the destruction of fortresses. We are destroying speculations. Who does that? Okay. And every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God. And we are taking every thought captive. Who does that? To the obedience of Christ. You see, if we're in the battle and we're soldiers, there's stuff we're supposed to be doing. You are in battle. And finally, this is the last one, I think. Paul tells them how to do it in Ephesians. Now, if you're a member of this church, you've probably heard this quite a bit. Paul talks about the armor of the Lord. And he tells us things like, be strong, put on, take up. Nowhere in those verses does he say, oh, pray to God that he'll put on your armor. That's not what he says. He says, put it on. There's some discipline going on here. There are some things you and I need to do if we are in the battle. You really are in the battle. Here's the question you need to ask yourself. Am I in the rear area, or am I out there in the front? Am I taking it easy, letting everybody else do the work, or am I working myself? Paul uses a couple of analogies to talk about the Christian life. Of course, he talks about our spiritual battle that we're in. But Paul also compares the Christian life to a race, an athletic event. I love the way the writer of Hebrews put it. The writer of Hebrews says, "Therefore, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us also lay aside every encumbrance and the sin which so easily entangles us. And let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is sat down at the right hand of the throne of God." Okay, back to my voice for a minute. These are my sons. From left to right, youngest to oldest, there's Daniel, Timothy, Sam, John, and Ben. And Pudge the dog. That's the dirt road they grew up on. I love this picture, and I never saw this picture until about 3 weeks ago. Most of you know that Samuel, the boy in the middle, was killed in a crash 3 weeks ago. It's a very sudden thing. He was driving home from work. And the state patrol tells us the most likely thing is Sam fell asleep. And his neck broke instantly. But here's the thing. Here's why I love this picture. And can I just tell you why I'm so grateful to God right now? I'm so grateful to God that I can say to you that all of my children have trusted Christ. All of them have. Man, what a relief. Samuel trusted Christ as a young teenager. He was 25 when he died. And I love this picture because it shows my boys on a journey. But look who's out front. Isn't that weird? Samuel's out in front of everybody. And if you look really closely, you can see that Sam's actually running. Sam has finished the race. You could say Sam fought the good fight. He was running way out ahead of us, and he got there before us. We're coming. But he's already there. That's Sam and one of his sisters. This picture was taken, the picture on the right was taken about 3 weeks before Sam died. See, one of the things Sam loved to do, he loved more than anything in this world, was playing the guitar. He had several really nice guitars, and he played well. And he played in several praise bands. In fact, a couple of months ago, he helped a praise band and a pastor form a church. Pretty big, thriving church, from what I understand, down there in South Georgia. And that's Sam a couple of weeks before. And I love that picture because he's playing at a church event, and you can just see it in his eyes. He knows that's home. Now, here's what I prefer to think. I prefer to think that when Samuel came into the presence of Jesus in a way that you and I haven't yet, he was welcomed with, "Welcome home, Sam. You've been a good and faithful servant." I believe that. I don't know what heaven's like, but I can't wait to see it. That's where my son is. But can I just tell you something? Samuel's the other veteran I wanted to tell you about. I told you about his brother who got blown up in Afghanistan. Samuel's a veteran. He fought the good fight. In the Christian life, are you in the rear area or are you on the front? In the race, are you running with endurance or are you content to sit in the stands? The same stadium, but let everybody else do the work. Here's what I want to challenge you with. Oh, I think that's it. Yeah. Here's what I want to challenge you with. If I call myself a Christian, and I walk around with my chest sticking out because I'm such a great Christian, and I've got it going on, and Satan's leaving me alone because he's afraid of me, man, am I deluded. Because he is in no way afraid of me. If I'm walking around and Satan's not bothering me, He's just leaving me alone. You know what that really means? What that really means is I'm exactly the kind of Christian Satan likes. So, how do I make sure I'm not that guy? Well, there are a few things that the Bible tells us we need to be doing as Christians. These are minimum, guys. Minimum. We need to be praying, right? Are you a praying Christian? The Bible says, pray without ceasing, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Are you doing that? Are you reading God's Word? Are you studying it? Are you meditating on it? Here's one for you. Are you doing what it says? That's kind of a basic thing for Christians. Are you fellowshipping with other Christians? Preaching to the choir here, because obviously you're in church. But we need to be fellowshipping with other Christians. Iron sharpens iron, you know, so one man sharpens another. And finally, are we witnessing for Christ? If somebody came up to you today and asked how to become a Christian, would you know what to tell them? If somebody came up to you today and said, tell me about your story, how did you become a Christian? Could you tell them? Those are some minimum things we need to be doing as Christians. And if we're not doing those things, I promise you, we're exactly the kind of Christians that Satan likes. He is happy with us. I want to be a warrior. I want to be out in front of the race, running. Father, I'm so thankful for your word. I'm so thankful for Sam and John's life and the things you've taught me from my boys. I'm so thankful that as I've prayed a couple of times this morning, Father, I'm so grateful that on the cross, Jesus was forsaken so that I would never be. And so, Father, help me to be the Christian that Satan's afraid of, that he's uncomfortable with, that he bothers. You've given me the tools, Father. Help me use them. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
God's people said amen.
Amen.
Just was, thank you for taking us into real life, what military life is really like by your life's experience. And then thank you for your sensitivity to the gospel and bringing us back home with the Lord Jesus, who's the one that sets us free, because we have a lot of brothers and sisters in the Lord that dwell in countries where we don't have the freedom that we have. So it's possible to be free even in a politically oppressive environment. So thank you for blessing us this morning. What an awesome message. Hey, we're going to sing, stand and sing a hymn of invitation. It's 305 on the screen. It's 305 in the hymn book of music. Let's stand and sing to the Lord. If you've got a decision to make for Jesus and you're ready to follow Him, and for others to know that, let's stand and sing to the Lord. You come as we sing. Dr. Brolin and the Patriot Choir from the University of North Georgia. Let's give them thanks. women, and so thank you, sir. Mike and Sue, we're grateful for your involvement today. You know, appreciate the freshness of the loss of one of my sons just 3 weeks ago. It's been the strength of the Lord that held you up today and brought such an awesome message. I'm going to ask the two of you, if you will, join me back and back after we close the service so people can reach out. Okay? You all right? If you'll remain standing for the retrieval of the colors, please. We'll observe that at this time.
Forward. March. Left turn. March. Right. Breathing. Arms. Forward. Arms. Retreat. Gullies. Right turn. March. Forward. March.
You'll bow to close with me in prayer, please. Father, thank you for this day, a day of honor and recognition, a day of expressing our gratitude to you for your master design of all things. The scriptures tell us that you're the one that calls nations into being and establish our boundaries. Part of our boundaries remain intact, Father, because of those who have served so well, and ultimately, on behalf of some, have given their everything, their very lives. Lord, to ensure our freedom, we pray your continued blessing, wisdom, and guidance over our nation. And, Father, our gratitude would be real before you for those who serve, even in today's world. Protect them, Father, and send them safely back to their families. It's our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Remain standing as our UNG Patriot Choir closes this song.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairie, to the ocean, white with